Hey guys, I have a video here from Subtractem that is called the greatest ARPG of all time. A year from now, PoE 2 early access review. Of course, this caught my attention because he obviously likes the game because he says the greatest ARPG of all time. But he says a year from now, which means that he has some feedback to give to improve it, to take the game there. You guys know that I already think that this is the greatest ARPG of all time, but I was not a PoE 1 Andy. Maybe people that play PoE 1 still think that that one is the best of all time, or maybe Diablo 2 is the best of all time. To me, Path of Exile 2 is already the best, but I also have some feedback, and I do think it is going to improve. Not only that it can improve, but that it is going to improve. But I want to see what is his feedback, so let's check it out.
Hey, what's up, everyone? It is now day 17, I think, 16 or 17 of the Path of Exile 2 early access, and I feel like I've played enough now.
That was a week ago, by the way, when he released the video. So right now we have like a month, almost a month.
I've really taken my time to think about the whole game and the way it is and the way it's going to be and the way that GGG's been treating it, and I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. I've now played for 16 or 17 days, and I have a level 92 Chronomancer. I've fought every boss in the game. Didn't beat the Arbiter of Ash because I died to something that I don't think was very well telegraphed.
Dude, what was blasting? 9 days ago he released the video and he already did all of that. Dude, what's blasting, bro?
We'll get to that later. And I yesterday wanted to level through the campaign again, slightly twinked out, just to feel through it. I leveled this Infernalist yesterday, so I feel like I have a pretty good experience in the game. So let's get right into it. Art, sound, environment, direction. The game is gorgeous.
By the way, I have realized, or I have noticed, didn't do it, which is awesome, that a lot of the time when people are doing these reviews of the game, they feel they have to their credentials. Like, I have played this game and this game, I have as many years playing or whatever, because people, like, they don't take your review seriously if you don't show your credentials, and they feel the necessity to do it before people say something. And I feel we shouldn't have to give credentials to do a review. I am doing the review because this is my review. This is what I think about the game. You don't need my credentials. That is how it should be. That is how it should be. I don't blame them for doing it because people are like that. What are you going to know? You haven't played shit. I understand it. He didn't do it, which in my opinion it is cool.
Look at this. Look at this. Look at that. Look at this. Game's beautiful. D4 bad. The one thing D4 had, and PoE 2 just took.
That is true. That is true. I remember that that was one of the things that I said to say that D4 had something good, was that in comparison to PoE 1, D4 looks beautiful, and PoE 1, let's be honest, guys, it looks awful. It sucks how it looks. But now you have PoE 2 that looks beautiful. Look at this, brother. So one of the things you had going for you, D4, brother, and they took it away, my dude.
Away. In terms of the campaign, Act 1, godlike. Campaign, really, 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 really good. We have 4, 5, and 6 acts coming later. We have 1, 2, 3. You have to go through Cruel again. Act 1, borderline perfect. It's really, really good. Maybe a couple zones that are a little windy. Like, I think the farm area is a little weird, but it's not that bad. Act 2, first half, basically fine. I think the hyena boss feels a little hard, but then the dreadnought feels awful. I did play through it again yesterday. It feels way better with the checkpoints, but it still doesn't feel very good. All those little narrow bridges.
I like that the three acts. People have been saying that the 3 act is too long, and yes, it is a little bit long, but I like the 3 acts. I basically don't have critiques for the acts or the songs. I like the songs being big. Some people don't like the songs being too. I think helps feel the game is epic. You are in a big world. I like the big songs. The problem is the backtracking. You have to remove the backtracking. Give me the big songs to feel the epicness and the big world, but remove the backtracking that makes me feel like I am wasting my time.
Everything. If you don't have a build that can handle it, feels really bad. Act 3, a lot of PoE 1 veterans don't really love Act 3. I thought Act 3 was borderline perfect. Pyramid of Filth area is a little bit wacky.
I love the Act 3 in terms of, I think it is cool, right? Again, it can feel a little long sometimes, but I like it. But what I like the most about Act 3 are the songs in terms of aesthetic and thematic. Like, brother, this whole Aztec theme combined with the technology, retrofuturistic, the goriness, the sacrifices on the pyramid and all of that. Oh my dude, that is awesome, dude.
A couple of those zones are a little bit bigger than I would like, but if they tone down some of the crazy winding zones by like 15%, and with some game experience, you can get through it a lot faster. When I granted I was twinked out, I was just like moderately twinked. I didn't have anything like crazy on, but twinked out yesterday, I did beat all 3 acts, the first 3 in about 8 hours, whereas the first time it was like 25 hours. So much faster just knowing what you're doing.
The first time it is a combination of you don't have gold, you don't have gear, you don't have anything, you start from scratch, and a combination of you don't know anything. This is the first time you play the game. And that by the way, guys, if you didn't know, you are never ever going to have that again. You are going to have it for acts 4, 5, and 6. But for act 1 through 3, you already did it. You already have the experience. You know what is happening, what is going to happen. It is never going to be that hard because you know.
I really like the campaign. I'm excited about acts 4, 5, and 6.
Yep,
feels really good. Would like to see the base movement speed. I don't think we're going to see this, but I would love to see the base movement speed go up by like 10% or something. Unless you get movement speed boots, the campaign does feel... I didn't get any till like halfway through act 2.
I don't know if I should say like, oh yes, give me 10% move speed flat on every character. But what I would say is, I am not saying that I wouldn't like it. If they do it, go ahead, fine. But what I would say is that at this point, if you are going to get some boots, you always need move speed on them, which makes it a requirement, which makes it so that if you don't have boots with move speed, they are useless. So at that point, or do that and put the move speed on the character, and now I don't need the move speed on the boots, and you even remove the affix, or make it an implicit in every boot. Make it an implicit in every boot, and you start like low level boots at 5% and high level boots at 30%, and you go through the tiers. Because boots without movement speed are useless. So make it an implicit in boots, basically.
On my first character, and that felt really bad. With no movement abilities at all, I think a little bit of more base movement speed would feel really good. Performance, I think the game performance is really bad. I get decent performance when I'm in my hideout, but then when I go into a map, some of these maps I drop to like 40, 50 FPS. I have a 50...
This is true. My thing happens, and I don't know if it is an option or something that I have to tweak. I am not really good with tweaking graphic options. But when I have a lot of monsters on a screen, the game basically, to not slow me down, what it does is that it greatly decreases the quality of the graphics, and it goes pixelated. I don't know if you guys have noticed this when I am streaming or doing a video or something.
950X and a 3080, and I get about 180 FPS sitting in my hideout. You can see as soon as I click and as soon as I start casting some sparks, look at that, 180 goes down to 120 just by having these sparks go around. And then when I go into some maps, I can drop down to like 35, 40 FPS. And with not that much on the screen, honestly, I think I would really like them to take a look at performance. I've updated my drivers. I'm running DLSS on quality, turned off global illumination. I've tried everything. And with my computer, I would really like to see my FPS never drop below 100. I really think with this hardware, it should be able to pull that off. I'd really like to see them focus on that. I'm very sensitive to those FPS drops. And with how unforgiving the game is, which we'll get to later, I think it feels particularly bad to die to lag or just, FPS drops because you couldn't react to, some sort of on-death mechanic. In terms of the combat, I really like the mechanical feel of the combat, this is going to be the main theme of this video that we get to later. Love the mechanical feel of the combat. I like dodging things. I loved the Viper Nadziri. I don't know if it's Nadziri, Nadzubi, whatever her name is. I actually really like that fight. It really encouraged you to take a look at how it worked and look at the telegraphing of things, like dodging around all of the different, the spear attacks and everything. It was very rewarding to learn that fight. Love that combat, that very interactive combat. And I want them, this is the theme of the video, I really want them to focus on that moving forward. And I hope that's something that they really take to heart and try to keep as the soul of the game instead of degenerate PoE 1 play. So if you want a little spoiler about where we're going to go. I love using multiple abilities until it gets to the point where this is the main theme of that I've seen people say on Reddit is like monsters are playing PoE 1 still. We're playing PoE 2. You know, there are the OP builds. But many of these builds, oh, I love this too. This little blue, the blue over here, like under that. Sorry, I have to gush about the, you know, the being able to see through the UI. Some people complain about it, but I thought it was gorgeous, like seeing the lighting behind the UI and everything. Anyway, I think the game's beautiful. Monsters are still playing PoE 1. They still have all the same modifiers from PoE 1. They are running at warp speed. They are Shroud Walker teleporting on top of you. And if you don't have a build that operates basically like PoE 1, then you're kind of left in the dust. Like if you are doing your really long wind-up thing, like most monsters and maps, you get like a juiced rare, particularly if you take the nodes that juice your rares and they have like 4 modifiers, and they're probably going to have Shroud Walker or Hasted or Mana Siphoner and Temporal Rift or Temporal Bubble, and then
there are some affixes that are straight up bullshit. I know that some different people hate different affixes, but one of the ones that I hate the most, moreover with my warrior, of course, because I have to be at melee range, and I take a lot of hits because it is armor block based, is the one that doesn't let you regen life over 50%. And I am always on the verge of dying because they don't let me regen. And it is awful. I hate it with a furious rage, dude.
The worst one, Proximal Tangibility, the new one that they added, which is basically Prox Bubbles, but worse. You need a build
that one is also awful. You don't feel it as much with the warrior, but with a range class you feel it. You have to get close to the mob to be able to hit it. With the warrior, this is not a problem for me, but I know that a lot of people hate that affix or modifier in rares.
That's like PoE 1, basically. When you're not fighting monsters like that, like particularly through the campaign, you're fighting regular monsters and learning to outplay those shield guys if you're shooting projectiles at them, dodge rolling behind them and then stunning them and shooting them in the back, and or the guys that you can light on fire and they drop their shields. Those are the guys, I think, halfway through Act 2, the big guys with shields. You can light them on fire. They'll drop their shields. Like there's actual interactive combat, and unfortunately when you get to the maps later on, you lose that and it just turns into PoE 1.
We talked about that in video yesterday when we reacted to the review from Mr. Lama, where PoE 2 right now feels like 2 different games, and the campaign is one game, which is awesome, and the end game is a different game, which is faster, which is not bad. It is also is awesome too, but the first game is better. The campaign game is insanely better. This interactive combat, meaningful combat is really better at the start of the game. But the build and the crazy stuff you can do is better at the end game. What they should do is marry these 2 things, right?
Also, there are some movement abilities, and if you have a build that can take advantage of it, you have a gigantic leg up on the people that don't. It's not remotely as strong as PoE 1, but if you do have a movement ability, you know, because normally you're just like dodge roll is the exact same speed as walking. This just doesn't feel awesome. You know, you're just going to be walking around normally. And I don't need, like, you know, Path of Exile crazy mobility, but you can kind of get it with certain builds. You know, you got Tailwind, you got Blink here, you know, people got Temporalis. They're
yeah, brother, people are using Blink with Temporalis and they just zoom around the map. And you could say, yes, but this is not easy to accomplish because to get Temporalis you have to do a no-hit run in the whatever. People just farm and trade for this shit and they just
flying around at the speed of light with their 300% rarity builds. If you're playing a normie build, like, hey, I'm just a regular little Titan trying to do Earthquake or something, you are left in the dust. And that feels really, really bad. Yeah, bumping into things, I could talk about like the lack of phasing and all that, like, but there's got to be something in the middle between like bumping into everything and and just like pressing one button and blowing up 4 screens at once. In terms of the end game, I think the end game is a placeholder. They clearly have only been working on it for a few months, as Jonathan has said, maybe up to 6 months, but not very long.
They said this several times that they have not. They basically were developing the game in order, but they said if we are going to release early access. And we have seen how people complain about D4 having no end game. And then they complain about Last Epoch having no end game. We can't release this without an end game because people are going to complain. So we have to give them an end game even if it is complete. You know what? I think it was a correct decision because yes, we are giving feedback to improve the end game. It is not the best end game, but we have an end game. Nobody is complaining that there is no endgame. Everybody is complaining that it needs work. You have to improve it. You have to expand it. But there is an endgame, you know, which is cool. But yes, we know that they have not developed the endgame as much as even them would like to. So I am 100% confident that we will see not only a lot of changes to the endgame, but a lot of improvements to the endgame.
This is relatively new. I can't say anything that other people haven't said already. The Lost Towers are bad. Nodes with no content's really bad. One portal feels really bad. Maps without bosses feels really bad.
Map without bosses suck. I wish there was a boss in every map because I love bossing, and it is one of the reasons that I like this game so much. Why I like the campaign so much, because it's based a lot around bossing. Give me bosses in every map. Someone commented in one of my videos something that can be true and is probably true, that bosses are too rewarding, and if you have a boss in every map, it is too rewarding. Well, then reward less with bosses, but give me bosses, brother. And right now, bosses are less deadlier than mobs, which is also stupid. You have to also modify that, by the way. Like, I am more afraid of mobs than bosses, which is stupid.
I think the way that you get points right now is backwards. You can't...
Is that a white? Oh! Yes, brother. White mobs are more deadlier than bosses do.
Get points for some of these until you fight the boss. You can't fight the boss until you get the splinters. You don't really get splinters until you have the points. So most people are just going to buy a breachstone.
That is stupid as fuck. I said this in my video yesterday, I believe. I talked about this. He's also talking about this. That the way that you get you need the points to farm breaches, but you need the breaches to get the points. So the system is completely backwards. They have to improve that too.
Get the points, buy another breachstone, get the points, and then they can get the breaches, and then they can fight more bosses, or they can sell the breachstones. Very backwards in my opinion. I really preferred how we did it in PoE 1, where just
completely agree, brother. Completely agree with this.
Doing maps, you could get some points that then would allow you to focus on that content and level it up and do it in a more interesting way. So I hope they look at the way that these points are acquired, at least like the first 2 or 4. Get those early on, like, hey, open 10 breaches, boom, first 2 points. Kill 20 rares in breaches, kill 50 rares in breaches, boom, those are your next 2 points. Then kill the boss, that's your next 2 points. Something like that I think could go a really long way. This content doesn't really come online until you have points into it, and that feels really bad. Like, I am level 92 right now. I have made like 1.6 breachstones total, which is not the worst, but I also have some points. I bought my first breachstone, and then Delhi, I'm level 92. Again, I only have 62 splinters. I've done every single Delhi I've seen. 62 splinters. I'm not even 1/3 of the way there at level 92. That's crazy.
By the way, that I do believe that the splinters, like, you require too many splinters to form the simulacrum or the breachstone. You have to do something, or you give me more splinters on you, or you require less splinters to form shit, because it is insane for something that you will lose if you die. My dude.
I think the tuning's off on that. Ritual and Expedition feel really bad. Again, not anything that no one else has said, but I think the tuned down rod crafting is really, really bad right now. And Ritual, at least without any points into it, feels awful. And it's pure RNG whether you get the points by getting the King in the Mist. So it feels backwards. Don't like it. Strongboxes and Essences feel awful. Not much to say there. They feel really bad. Jonathan said that Strongboxes were going to be faster, and they aren't. I hope they look at that again, and that was just a bug or something. Gold feels like a failure. Maybe that's what they want. They want it to be kind of a throwaway thing. It has value in the campaign, and then later on you can just gamble with it, and respecking is basically free now. They lowered the price enough of respecking where, you know, with 1 day of playing the game.
There is something to be said about the gold. Yesterday I spent almost $1 million gold by flipping currency in the currency exchange. And I profited exalted orbs by flipping stuff, but I spent $1 million gold. So you could say that they can use gold for that, right? That purpose. And maybe if they introduce an instant buyout system for trading, they can also use gold in there, and you get a gold sink. I believe they have thought that that is the intention.
You can afford basically a full respec.
Yeah.
I think that's okay, but I don't. If they want gold to have more meaning, gamble respec and currency exchange, and the currency exchange is Borderland free, so that's that. Crafting feels really bad right now. I'm not going to go into all the detail about this. Just watch Local Hall's video yesterday. He goes into a lot of detail about why crafting feels bad. I don't agree 100% on everything that he says there, particularly what he says.
Let's be honest, guys. Right now, crafting is basically a loot box. It is a roulette. How do you call that bullshit? A slot, a slot machine. It is a slot machine, dude. And you are basically identifying several times. Like you first identify with a transmuted, with the score of identifying, or with the hooded one. Then you identify converting it to a rare, and then you identify it at one modifier, and then you identify it another modifier when you convert it to a first to a magic and then to a rare. Basically, you are discovering modifiers. Right, that is what you are doing basically. If you really think about it, you are they are unknown to you when you get the item, but you are uncovering them each time you use the currency. Basically, that is how it feels. It doesn't feel like you are crafting an item. And remember that I didn't play PoE 1, so I don't know how that crafting works. That it is insanely better, but I don't know. But I am saying what it feels to me right now. It feels like a slot machine. And not like a crafting, but like I am basically discovering an item, identifying an item from scratch. And the choice that they are giving to you is if you want to keep discovering it, investing more currency, or not. That is your choice. You want to reveal the next affix, you have to use the thing. But your 3 affixes suck, so you are not going to use the thing. Oh, but you have 2 good affixes, 1 not so good. You want to invest a thing? Yeah, I want to invest a thing. Well, here you have another affix, and that is basically what is happening.
Says about bases being valuable, but he brings up some really good points, and I generally agree with most of what he says. So definitely check out his video. Crafting is just in an awful place right now. Crafting honestly feels like a big step backwards. Now, I don't want the deterministic PoE 1 crafting, and we'll talk about this in a little bit. I don't want deterministic PoE 1 crafting. But at the very least, let me overwrite my runes so I don't have to buy 3 new pieces of gear.
Please, please. Earlier I made a mistake with, I slotted this chaos resistance here. I shouldn't have slotted it because, you can see it, but I am overcapped on chaos resistance. I have every 87% chaos resistance. Oh yes, you can see it, and I only need 75, and I slotted this chaos resistance here. I should have gone with the life one. With this one that gives you 2% increase maximum life. But now I can't do anything. It is already there. I fucked it up by mistake. So that is stupid, dude. That is stupid.
To balance my res when if I bought a new amulet, if I needed that 7 lightning res and I bought a new amulet, I would have to buy like a whole new pair of gloves or a whole new pair of boots, because that's the only other way that I can get my res up, because there's no tool. Literally, that is the only answer. There is nothing else. You can't get more res on the tree. I have the only res on the tree near me. The only thing left is gear, right? There's nothing else. Yeah, if I lost this 7% lightning res, I would have to buy a different item, which is crazy. Instead of, hey, I'm overcapped here, I'll switch this fire to lightning. Honestly, a pretty big oversight. Like, if you're an SSF, you are screwed. So, yeah, I don't know. I think they really need to take a look at crafting. I don't want pure deterministic. I really do think it's exciting to pick up a base, elk it, and then maybe exalt it. But I want there to be more than like, hey, I used an essence, I got a low tier cold modifier, now I trash it, right? Like that's the way this is. This no longer guarantees, all right, I'll start ranting about it. This no longer guarantees a decent cold modifier. This could be any cold modifier. It could be tier 1, which is, bad in this game. You could get tier 1 cold, tier 1 cold res, and then you get rid of the base, right? You throw away the base. So all you do is what? Like pick up amethyst bases for a day or a week, and then you use like 7 essences, and boom, they're all trash. You throw them on the ground. Like, I've only found 2 greater essences. I was spec'd into essences for a while, by the way. I had some of the points for essences, and I had these points right here, and I only have 2 greater essences. I had it for like 4 days, and I spec'd out of it because the trash. Yeah, it's bad. Very, very bad.
I have not seen a single one greater essence, and I am spec'd in the boss tree for seeing more essences in maps.
Like, I get that they want to start from like the ruthless angle, but give us some interesting tools, particularly, again, like if you're not leveraging trade really, really hard, you are so screwed.
Yep.
And then we can talk about, trade being in a bad place because of rarity and all that. It's starting to settle a little bit, but like 90 exalts to a divine yesterday was bad. Next up, that's enough for Endgame.
So
Again, watch Local's video. Next up, the difficulty of all the portals and all that. If you're in red maps and you have a strong build, you're basically fine anyway. Like, the strongest builds right now are so strong that you're basically immortal anyway. It plays like PoE 1. You know, you're just blasting. Maybe you die in 1 out of 20 maps or something. If something really, you get like a crazy rare
build
or something. But
if you go like me with a homebrew build and you suck at the game and don't have the experience or the knowledge as these crazy guys that break the game, then you are not zooming like that.
Besides that, you know, you're just farming, your build's online, it's fine. But I think a lot of people, like, I know for me, you know, I got 2 maps relatively early on. There wasn't much to buy on the trade economy, and I didn't have capped res at all. I think I had like 20 all res max when I got to maps, like max, absolute max, and probably negative chaos res. And I had like a little chaos res because I had like 1 amethyst ring. It was rough. I was constantly, I had no tools really. You know, I was using a freeze charm, but I could rant about charms all day. I think maybe white maps give us...
The charm system needs to improve, by the way. I like the idea behind it. I like the idea. I don't want it to be removed, but I do want it to be improved. Why do I have a 91, almost 91? It is the level 90 or almost 91 warrior, and I have 1 charm slot at this point. And I have a belt that I bought for I don't know how many exalted. Maybe it is my mistake that I should have bought a belt with more charms, but it shouldn't be this hard to get charm slots considering that they are not that good. You know, if you are going to restrict my charm slots, then they should be really good, right? They are not that good. So you don't even... I don't know if I should be hunting for having more charm slots, because I don't know if they are going to greatly improve my build, right? So I don't know. It needs to be improved. I like the idea. Iterate on it.
I don't know. I think throw softcore players a little bit of a bone for ramping up, or give, you know, at least give us more tools for getting our res up or something. Because, yeah, beating Doriani with low res, and then you just have so few tools for trying to get that up. You know, maybe a couple more portals so it's not so brutal ramping to the end game. If they want to keep it to 1 portal, that's fine. But again, you lose that portal. I think it's 15 every time you die. At least it feels like it's 15. And also you lose the waystone. You lose that T15 or T16 waystone, and you lose the content that was on the map. So so that feels bad. And you have to redo the map, and many of these map layouts, Vol Factory, again, I'm not going to rant about the whole Atlas, but some of these map layouts feel so bad. And if I fail this Vol Factory, you know, I have to, no matter what, to get up here, I'm going to have to run like a Vol Factory or go around, right? If I want to get this node, I have to run Vol Factory. That feels really bad. And if I died here, not only would I have to run it again, you know, pretend this node isn't here, I'd have to run it again, but with no content. So I know it's a map that just...
I must be one of the few people that don't hate, not only don't hate Val Factory, but I don't hate any layout. I am fine with all of them. All I wish they would do is reduce backtracking. But outside from that, and that happens in every map. I know that in Val Factory it is worse, but it happens even in open map.
Has no loot in it. At low difficulty bosses, again, I'd like to see maybe multiple portals, like a 0 difficulty boss, maybe 3 portals, and then 2, and then 1, or maybe 4, 3, 2, 1 portals based on the difficulty of the boss. So as you ramp it up, you also have to like really know the boss. I went into the Arbiter of Ash totally blind, and it took me 3 days. I guess we can. It took me 3 days to find the citadels, and I finally went into the boss fight, went in blind.
Well, or you blasted really hard in those 3 days, or you are really lucky, because I haven't seen a single citadel, and I know of people that have blasted even harder than me and have also not seen a single citadel.
Blind, I wanted to learn it, just, you know, raw dog it, and there was his little meteor thing that goes down, that AoE explosion. To me, that looked like don't be there, because in my head, volatile fire coming down, that's scary. So I was not there. I tried to roll out of it, and apparently you wanted to be inside of it. And so because I misread that telegraph, and in my opinion, I think that telegraph, I didn't really like what it looks like. It feels disingenuous. I lost 3 days of farming.
What he's talking about, not because I played it, but because I saw it. I believe. I don't remember who it was, but I was watching the sim and they went to the boss. I believe it was Elon Musk, dude. Asmongold put the Elon Musk stream, and he was playing Path of Exile 2, and he went and went to do the boss, and you see like an orb that is falling, but you have to stand where the orb is falling to not die.
Worth about 4 divines of keys, and I lost 15% XP and all of that, and it felt really bad. And I think at least at like a low difficulty boss in a softcore experience, give me a couple portals, and then I can learn. Because I want to learn the boss fight on my own. I don't want to look it up. I don't want to see someone else do the boss fight.
Same, brother,
and if I get one attempt for 3 days of farming, until I have a build that I know can just kill it and be immortal or whatever, just one-shot it, and why would I try to do it in an organic way? Okay, and my primary concern right now, this is the main thing I wanted to get to today, is the future of the game and what it's going to look like. So I want to start off by saying I know all the PoE1 players are probably going to disagree with me, like vast majority of them, but that's okay. It's okay. You know, whatever a game turns into, maybe it won't be for me and maybe it's for you, and that's okay. I'm just saying what I expected and what I was looking for. So let's be mature about this, but feel free to let me know in the comments if you disagree. My hope from playing, I played all the playtests. My hope from playing all of the playtests and ExileCon and everything, and the direction the game was going, was for it to be a more methodical, interesting game, but not super stressful. I do want to call out, I find this also makes the game very stressful. Makes mapping very stressful. I don't want it to be stressful, but I do want it to be interesting. And if playing through the campaign, I was interested the entire time. The boss fights were so engaging. It was interactive. And I want the game, I know this is a very difficult balance to strike, but I want the game to be interactive and interesting without turning into PoE1. What we're seeing right now with the way that the game works, with the builds that are out there, with the way
I don't mind. I know that some people don't like that in the methodical way of playing the game when you are not zooming. They don't like that you have to be focused 100% of the time. I like that. I not only don't mind it, but I like it. I am playing because of that, because I wanna be focused. I wanna blast this shit, play the game. This is an interaction that I am having with the game. I like it when you have to be focused. Like, if I want to do some mindless bullshit, I do something else. I don't play games for some mindless bullshit. Me personally. I am not criticizing people that like that. But again, for that, you have other games, dude. You have other games. Let me have mine, dude.
that GGG has put some balance patches out already is the game devolving into PoE1 style, hold one button, you know, spark, whatever. Hold one button, go forward, lightning arrow, the gas arrow, whatever type of stuff. Maybe 2 buttons. And blow up the entire...
I am doing gas arrow right now. But I am doing it differently than everybody else, brother. People do gas arrow with firewall, like if you were a mage. I am not a pussy caster mage bullshit. This is a Pathfinder that people don't play Pathfinder because it is underpowered, and this is explosive concoction. So I throw the bullshit and I explode it with explosive concoction. But you need a mob to be in there to ignite them, to be able to ignite the cloud. The firewall ignites it just by placing the wall. How stupid is that, dude? Or not how stupid is that? How stupid is it that I don't ignite it? So you have the fire in the gas and you don't ignite it. This is the stupid one, not that one.
Screen. And I think a lot of this, it has to do with the fact that, again, the monsters are playing PoE1 and we're playing PoE2. Yep. However, there are some builds that are basically PoE1 still, but a little clunkier. Like, you know, they're not as fast as, you know, self-curse, temp chains, spark, archmage, mana stacking, whatever crazy stuff in PoE1, but they're still multiple tiers above the average build. If you're just a regular Titan playing a regular build, and I think, I don't know, I was kind of hoping for a world where we get interesting build diversity and mechanics in how you play the build that has less to do with doing extreme damage. There's like the...
I believe the game has... How do I say this? To me, it has good build variety because I feel like I can do my stupid noob build that I just like one ability. I said I want to play Explosive Concoction, and I am doing it, and everything is working fine. And in that way, it has a lot of build variety, something that It's not that way in any other ARPG. The problem is that people want the blaster crazy builds, and of course that in that case you don't have that build variety, because to do that it is only a small fraction of builds that are able to do that, right? But if you remove that from the equation, from looking at YouTube or a Maxwell to see what are the 10 best builds, and you just do your own thing, everything will be fine, brother. And there is a lot of build variety. And if you compare it with D4, it is crazy. It is insane, bro. It is insane.
Baseline of what is an average player going to do when they put together a build. They're just going to say, hey, I want to play around Fireball. I'm going to get fire damage. Maybe I understand that gem levels scale me very well, and I'm going to run like wild shards and maybe something, you know, maybe one unique that does something interesting. Like maybe I have the blue gloves that converts to cold and, you know, doing something like that. I think that's kind of like the baseline. Hey, I put together something that feels pretty good, makes sense, and that's great. And I think a build like that, but they're still going to have to dodge roll things. They're playing around. I think that that should be like the baseline of can do all the content in the game and feel pretty good. I think a lot of people are going to disagree here, but what I would like is the 90 percentile, 90th, like if we talk about that as being like the 50th percentile build, I want to see like the 90th percentile. Like we can have like the 95 to 99th percentile builds be kind of cracked, but I want to see like the 90th percentile builds, which is where I put like Stormweaver Spark right now, or like Deadeye stuff, like the stuff that's doing big rarity farming, not like the broken builds right now. There's a couple like super broken builds, not those, but I would like to see the 90th percentile builds closer to the 50th percentile builds. Hey, maybe they do double the damage, but not 10x the damage. Maybe they're twice as defensive, but not 10x defensive. And I like deep build diversity and interesting mechanics there. The problem is when builds outperform like that so much, not even having to do as much with build diversity, but with mechanics diversity. More concerned with mechanics diversity.
Okay, I agree with that.
Than number of builds.
I agree with that.
If the 90th percentile builds degenerate to one button blow up whole screen, then I think a lot of the unique identity of Path of Exile 2 is lost. What drew me to the game being different from PoE 1, you know, we see that expressed in the campaign. We see that expressed doing early bossing maps in white maps until people discovered some of these crazier builds and build mechanics. I think that really gets lost, and I understand the excitement around the extreme power fantasy. I have played very broken builds. I understand what that feels like in PoE 1. I've played a full mirrored tornado shot character with a double corrupted mage blood and everything. I know what it feels like to literally 1 or 2 tap every single uber boss in the game and run with 600% movement speed. That's what PoE 1 is, and I appreciate it there. I've had a ton of fun with it. What I was really hoping for was for PoE 2 to be distinct from that and feel differently. What we're really seeing is these 50 percentile builds. The way they have to fight the monsters, the way it feels like a slog. Honestly, the FOMO that you get from watching, you know, a 300, 400% rarity Stormweaver Spark character blasting. Like, I would say, you know, me playing on Stormweaver right now, I'm probably like a 75 percentile build because I'm stuck on Chronomancer. I would 100% have respect to Stormweaver, but Chronomancer just doesn't have that access to the same power, particularly the mana sustain, that Stormweaver has, that can't do the exact same thing. I'm stuck on like a 75 percentile build, and I'm probably half as good as the Stormweaver version, right? Maybe a third as good.
What I think about builds is this. You guys know that I prefer, like, I don't know, the fantasy of the build is important to me. The coolness of the build is important to me, even more so than the strength of the build. But I still want my build to be able to complete the content in the game. And that is, I believe, the target that they should aim to get to. A point where everybody can just make their build and complete content. But at the same time, I don't know if that would trivialize content for the crazy builds. So it is really hard to pull off, right? Because if every idiot can create a build and eat everything, then the crazy guys that create the crazy builds are going to come up with those builds and delete everything even easier, right? So there is a moving target in there, but I do believe that the people that enjoy the game like me and just wanna do their own thing should be able to. And right now I feel that So far in my warrior, I've been able to play the game the way I like to, but I haven't cleared everything, so I don't know. But I have cleared a lot.
If you took away Spark Archmage, then Chronomancer particularly is in a very tough place. You can do Hammer of the Gods shenanigans or whatever, but that's also not what I'm looking for. Take this all with a grain of salt that there's so many undiscovered things. I totally recognize that, but we're already seeing builds converge on this 1 or 2 button, full blasting, high rarity playstyle. A lot of the tools that we have in terms of like skills and abilities don't really give us too much for mechanics. Like I do have a weapon swap blink here, but besides that, what else am I going to do except for slowly walk around and like cast a spell, right? It felt a lot more interesting anyway in the campaign, and I was hoping for very interesting bossing. Like the way that Jonathan talked about it is I thought bossing was going to be, hey, you make a character that's more bossing oriented. When you look at this, I thought if a map was going to be a boss map, I thought it was like just a big, like a boss arena, maybe even a...
Brother, I said this yesterday in the other video, exactly this, my dude. Yes. I would also want that, like specialize in bossing. I like bosses, and that is why I play this shit. I want bosses, dude.
Boss rush where I fight like 3, 4, 5 bosses in a row, and maybe the average mapping build isn't that good at bossing, and maybe I'm good at bossing. And my definition of good at bossing isn't one shot's a boss. It's is capable of dealing with the boss mechanics in an interesting way.
Yes, exactly. And that is how it should be. Not that, oh, I have a bossing build because I one shot the boss. No. The idea of a bossing build is like you do in WoW. In WoW, you have your Mythic Plus build, which is your AoE build for dungeons, and you have your single target build, which is for raiding because you have a single target, which is the boss. That is how, in my opinion, it should be. Like you have an hyper specialized build for single target that is for the boss, but you still have to do the boss, not one shot him, dude.
That even be expressed in a game where there's this level of power fantasy? I don't know. No matter what, you have to be good at mapping to get to the boss maps anyway. So you may as well be good at mapping, and then if you're good enough at mapping, you can probably one-shot a boss anyway. And that's just kind of what it's turned into. And we're seeing lots of examples.
It is not that it's bad. It is not that is what I personally wanted.
Examples of Spark Archmage fills the screen with sparks, and then Arbiter of Ash +4 dies in 3 seconds. And then very importantly, if we look at the way that GGG has patched already in making things easier, I think on-death mechanics can be okay if they're very, very, very well telegraphed. But they have those big exploding guys that take like 3, 4+ seconds to explode. That's fine. I've had rares that will just randomly do detonate dead from off screen, and it's just like, what are you doing? What's going on? Why is this in the game? PoE 1 got rid of a lot of these, and they are repeating these mistakes. We got the rarity issue, we got all this. The way that they've patched the game already, we're seeing them kind of push the game in a PoE 1 direction. I don't even know if it's possible to truly solve these problems, because the game does have plenty of problems. Solve the problems in a different way than Path of Exile 1 did. But I do know that if they solve the problems in the same way that PoE 1 did, if they push, hey, we'll just give you all your flasks all the time. Hey, we'll actually just give you 42% movement speed boots and flame dash. And the game could just turn into Path of Exile 1.5. And that's okay. It'll be a great game. It will be the best ARPG of all time. If it's just PoE 1.5, it'll eclipse Path of Exile 1 in every single way. But I am very afraid that they could just continually patch the game in a way that it converges with PoE 1.
For that, we already have PoE 1. We want the new cool thing, which is PoE 2. What you did in the campaign, put that in the end game.
I want the game to be different. I think a lot of people, particularly the Path of Exile 1 players, will be happy if it converges more with PoE 1 in terms of playstyle. If we look at the high-end play right now, it looks like clunky PoE 1. And I'm very, very afraid that it's going to be that. So there's that. I did want to end on a positive note, however. I think the most beautiful thing about PoE 2 right now is that it's bringing in so many non-PoE players. People that either bounced off of PoE 1, or they looked at PoE 1 and they're like, not for me, or they just not even ARPG players in general. Or, best case scenario, we get people off that D4 slop playing a good game.
Yeah, like me.
And it's really cool that
I am still going to probably play D4 in the future, but yeah.
PoE 2 is doing that. So yeah, I do very much love this game. I think it's awesome. I'm excited for its future, but I'm also a little tentatively worried that it could just not learn the same lessons, or it might just not have its own direction. And I really hope that GGG takes to heart the unique vision that they had in the campaign, and they find a way to apply that in the end game, particularly with the play style and the way that we play the game. I think there are so many interesting things they could do with mechanical expression. Like, I'd love to see them, you know, look at MOBA characters, even like look at Invoker and Meepo and whatever, and do really, really interesting things mechanically. Like, I'm not saying exactly those type of things. I'm not saying like just put Meepo in the game, but you know, do
Dota player, brother. You guys know that I am a Dota player. The game that I have the most hours in my entire life is Dota. Of course, I know what Invoker is and Meepo is. And those are good ideas. Those are good ideas. Put stuff from Dota in here, brother.
Unique things mechanically to continue to really continue to differentiate it from Path of Exile 1. Because right now, you can just open up some random PoE 2 streams, and it looks very much like PoE 1, just a little clunkier. Anyway, I would currently give the game like a 7 out of 10 in its current state. Easily could be a 10 out of 10. For me, if it turned into PoE 1 again, it just wouldn't be that. But I mean, if it turns into its own unique thing that it just like feels and looks awesome all the way through, it could be a 15 out of 10. Why not? We can just betray the fundamentals of mathematics. What'd you guys think? You guys having a good time? I do love the game. I don't want to get that misconstrued. But when it comes to criticism and feedback, there's only so much that we can get out of.
This game is destroying my life. I can't stop playing, dude. And it is going to be even better because I am a believer, dude. I have no reason to believe that the awesome people that created the game in the first place, that created this awesome campaign in the first place, don't have the talent and the vision to just continue developing the game in a good direction. I have no reason to not think that. So I do think that the game is going to improve and improve and improve, and we are going to keep having, because we already have an awesome game, but it is going to be even better, brother. And we are going to have more acts and more ending and more classes and ascendancies and weapons and skills. And this is going to be insane, bro. This is going to be, at this point in time, it is already insane. Imagine when it is completed and then they release leaks and they put more on top and more on top. Oh, bro, I am rock hard just thinking about it, dude.
Just singing its praises. I think it's worth mentioning, of course, all the great things that it does, but there's always a long way to go. This is early access. They said they got at least like 6 to 12 more months of work on it, and I could see this shaping up to just easily be the best ARPG of all time. Worst case, it could be the second best, but I don't think they want to settle for that. All right, thanks for watching, guys. See y'all soon. Bye.
To me, it already is. But it can be like, I don't know, earth crushing. But this was an awesome video. I agree with a lot, if not all of his points. Awesome video. Good ideas. Confirm stuff that I was already thinking, and it made me feel like I am not an idiot, because he obviously knows more about Path of Exile than me. And he's not only knows more, but let's be honest, he's a better player. But then when you see a better player and someone more knowledgeable say stuff that you were already thinking, it is like a confirmation for you and you feel vindicated. So that is also awesome. Yes, I like this video very much, brother. Thank you for the video, my dude. And you guys, let me know what you guys think about all of this, brother. Do you agree? You don't agree? What are you thinking about the end game and the game in general? Do you prefer the PoE 1 style or the PoE 2 style? Do you like this transition from slow to fast? Maybe that is the vision they have, but they have to smooth out the transition. Let me know in the comments below what you think about all of this. You guys know that I love reading comments even when they don't agree with me. Also, remember to like the video. Subscribe to the channel, my dude. Hey, guys. Thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. God bless ya. And remember, don't be afraid ever, because this is just a ride.